Welcome to the driver's seat and the long-awaited launch of the 2020 Toyota Supra. We're at Willow Springs Raceway to really put these vehicles to the test. We're on the streets of Willow. It's a smaller track, but a very technical track, and really lets you appreciate the power-to-weight ratio as well as the shorter wheelbase. To me, after driving this vehicle several laps, it's like a Miata on steroids because it's got that short wheelbase. Now, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of the Supra. We'll start with the cons. A lot of purists say, well, BMW built this, it's not a Toyota. Well, maybe so, but this is 2019, and there's a lot of that going on in the industry. Yes, this is Toyota's coveted sports car. It's been 20 years since they've had one, but they felt this was the best way to get a rear-wheel drive, front-engine sports car and keep that DNA that all Supras have had. Unlike previous Supras, this is only a two-seater, so you don't have the proper hatchback that some of those had, but that's okay. And you know, size-wise, they showed us a silhouette. This is the exact same length as the 86, but has so much more power. You know, that one, 151 torque. This has 335, and the torque comes at 1,200 RPM. So a ton of power. This is really what the 86 should have been. It's also it's also wider than the 86 and has a very similar wheelbase. Can't get it in a manual, only in an 8-speed, but it's a ZF 8-speed, which, as you know, is so good that BMW dumped their twin clutch transmissions for the ZF 8-speed. Starting price just under $50,000. There are 3 different editions, and we're going to go play with these and let you know how they drive. Streets of Willow is actually an excellent place to evaluate how a car handles. And we have to be kind to our host here, Toyota. They're very generous to let us do this. As you can see, the car handles quite nicely. Very balanced. A ton of power. The back does let you play a little bit. But pretty good visibility for a small car. Very nicely done. Track exercises are fun and designed to prove a point that the vehicle is very capable. For most Supra owners, this will be a daily driver, and the best way I can describe it is that it's a Miata RF with balls. As an engineer by trade, I tend to balance emotion with reason. So I'm taking you through my thought process as a car enthusiast, as a former Toyota Celica owner, as someone who has waited for the resurrection of the Supra for 20 years. So let's get right to it. The Supra is built by BMW for Toyota. I'll come back to that, but it's significant. It's available in 3 trim levels: 3.0, 3.0 Premium, and Launch Edition. If the Launch Edition is your goal, better hurry, because they're only going to make 1,500 of them. I then looked north and south of the Supra to see what really competes with it. Looking at these competitors one by one, yes, the 370Z is $30,000, but you can also spend $45,000. The horsepower is good, but this is an 11-year-old platform. The interior is horrific, and quite honestly, Nissan has abandoned this car. But it is a good, cheap alternative to the Supra, if you don't mind very dated technology. The M240i is interesting because it's the only one in this entire segment that actually has a viable back seat. at $45,000 and 335 horsepower. It is a proper coupe, and the fact that you can get it with a 6-speed manual transmission and the option to get the X-Drive all-wheel drive makes it a vehicle that is worth consideration. However, it does lack all that sports car presence the rest of the segment has. Moving on to the Cayman, this is a mid-engine rear-wheel drive vehicle, also offered with a manual transmission, and of course it's got the Porsche nameplate. However, $57,000 is only going to get you a 4-cylinder 300 horsepower engine, which is more than adequate. But if you really want to compare apples to apples, you have to step up to about $70,000 to get the flat 6. And last but not least, we have the Chevy Corvette. This vehicle is essentially a McLaren with $120,000 in the trunk. It's an exotic mid-engine car at a stupid price, but it's not perfect. It's a very impractical daily driver. And if you look at how they configured the cockpit, 65% is for the driver, 35% for the passenger. And now we go to the Supra, which is really what we're here to talk about. But the Supra does have pure styling, 50-50 weight distribution. I think it's priced a little bit too high, and the lack of a manual transmission option might be a deal breaker for some enthusiasts. But for me, the biggest question mark is, does it have Toyota build quality? The first 4 generations of Supra were made by Toyota, and they were legendary for being so bulletproof. Will this vehicle be that same way? Time will tell. Not that BMW is a secondary car company. They make amazing vehicles, but they're also not Toyota when it comes to reliability. In closing this analytical exercise, read the reviews and watch our videos, but also talk to the Supra owners, because they are the ones who actually walk the walk and put their money where their mouths are. Well, for most of the day, we've been driving the 3.0 Premium that you see here. I was hoping this had some exotic paint color, and maybe it does, but their official keychain just says yellow. But to me, this color is just brilliant on this car. It really pops. We got some great footage of it, some drone footage, and I think it really speaks volumes to the proportions. Paint a car yellow and it's just too much, but here it works just right. I wish the calipers were yellow, but minor things. But overall, a brilliant car. This is just a tough time to be launching a sports car. Everyone's talking about the Corvette C8 with such a value proposition, but maybe a mid-engine sports car isn't for everyone. I still think there's plenty of room in the market for this Supra. I think they're going to get a lot of the old-timers that had them 20, 30 years ago, and hopefully some new young enthusiasts. I'm Ron Doran. Thanks for watching. See you next time on The Driver's Seat.